Welcome to the Explainer. We are right at the edge of the 2026 World Cup knockouts. And I gotta say, the tension is absolutely electric. 48 teams arrived at this tournament, but we've already had our first massive culling, stripping the field all the way down to 32. And as we look at the surviving contenders, we're seeing an incredible, almost cinematic clash taking shape. On one side, we have the undeniable, chaotic reality of what's actually happening on the pitch. And on the other side, the cold, calculating algorithms of supercomputers trying to tell us exactly how this whole thing ends. Today, we're going to look at the top contenders, compare their strengths and paths, and see if the math can actually keep up with the magic. Okay, let's dive right into this, because this is the question hanging over the entire tournament right now. Can supercomputers actually predict the drama of knockout football? The group stages are great for building momentum and finding form, but knockout football? That is a totally different beast. Every single match is a tightrope walk where one bad bounce, one red card, or just one moment of pure individual brilliance can tear a predictive model to absolute shreds. We are looking at some of the heaviest hitters in world football right now, and the data is desperately trying to put them into neat little boxes. Chapter 1: The Top-Tier Contenders. If we're talking about the absolute heavyweights, the conversation has to begin with the defending champions and the current betting favorites. They are the benchmark. 19. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is Lionel Messi's mind-blowing all-time World Cup goal tally. At 39 years old, the man is still completely dictating the pace of the game. He actually just scored in his 7th consecutive World Cup match, breaking even more records, which included a hat-trick against Algeria. Now, Argentina went undefeated in their group, and yeah, while they might look a tiny bit reliant on their aging captain, the whole squad is literally built to serve his genius. They're proving exactly why they arrived as defending champions. But then you look over at France. Les Bleus are the solo favorites right now at the bookmakers, and honestly, for very good reason. Their front line is operating with sheer, terrifying firepower. Kylian Mbappe has been a total wrecking ball, surpassing Miroslav Klose's record of 16 all-time World Cup goals. And just when you think, okay, we can focus our entire defense on stopping Mbappe, Ousmane Dembélé steps up and bags a hat-trick in a 4-1 demolition of Norway. Didier Deschamps' squad just has the kind of attacking depth that gives opposition managers literal nightmares. Chapter 2: The Chasing Heavyweights. Now, France and Argentina aren't just going to walk to the final uncontested, right? There is a whole pack of massive footballing nations actively looking to dethrone them, and they are bringing some serious momentum into these knockouts. Take Brazil, for example. Carlo Ancelotti's side had a slightly sluggish start, but they are surging now, and that's largely thanks to Vinicius Jr. He's already sitting on a massive 4-goal haul for the tournament. He was the absolute catalyst that pushed Brazil past Japan in a super dramatic 2-1 comeback in the round of 32. When you have players like Vini hitting top gear, Brazil's fear factor skyrockets, honestly, regardless of what their underlying defensive stats might look like. Now, what's really interesting here is the total contrast in styles between two of Europe's biggest hopes. Take Spain. After a kind of frustrating opening draw, they just exploded into life. Lamine Yamal is providing incredible flair, they absolutely thrash Saudi Arabia 4-0, and they head into the knockouts without conceding a single goal. Fluid, dangerous, fun to watch. And then there's England. Well, it hasn't exactly been pretty. They faced these really packed defenses and had to grind out results, like a really drab goalless draw with Ghana and a super tense 2-0 win over Panama. But look, it's a pragmatic march. Jude Bellingham is showing up in the big moments. Harry Kane has 3 goals, and Thomas Tuchel has them topping their group to avoid a brutal side of the knockout draw. It is literally style versus survival. So how do the supercomputers read all of this? Well, if you're feeling out a prediction bracket, Opta's cold data is telling you to back France. The Opta Analyst supercomputer basically simulated the rest of the tournament 25,000 times, and their objective data has France as the algorithmic favorite to lift the trophy at 18.7%, followed pretty closely by Argentina at 16.3% and Spain at 13.5%. Opta is heavily backing a repeat of the 2022 final between France and Argentina. But as we know, football doesn't always care about probability, does it? Chapter 3: Germany and the Netherlands. Let's look at two European giants experiencing vastly different tournaments right now, starting with the team that's rising really fast. The Netherlands are flying. They are arguably the most dangerous dark horse in the entire tournament. Ronald Koeman has finally solved his center-forward puzzle with Brian Brobby. Brobby has completely changed their tactical dynamic, just bullying defenders and scoring 3 goals in his last 2 games. They have a rock-solid defense led by Virgil van Dijk, immense momentum, and their title chances on the Opta model have jumped all the way up to 5.1%. They are a serious, serious threat. And then we have Germany. I mean, it started so well with that 7-1 thrashing of Curaçao. But then they really showed some crocs, stumbling to a shock loss against Ecuador, and it all culminated in the round of 32 against Paraguay. Germany took a 1-0 lead, but Paraguay clawed their way back, forced penalties, and won the shootout 4-3. This is absolutely monumental. Before this, Germany had a flawless 4-0 record in World Cup penalty shootouts. It is their first ever World Cup shootout defeat and just a chaotic, step-by-step downfall for Julian Nagelsmann's squad.
Chapter 4. Mapping the Knockout Path.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the knockout bracket violently shapes your destiny. It's not just about how good you are, it's about who is standing between you and the trophy. Look at Argentina's projected paths to defend their title, assuming the highest FIFA-ranked team wins every match. They dispatch Cape Verde, next is Egypt, then they likely run into a surging Colombian side who have looked incredibly dangerous. If they survive that, they face England in the semifinals. And waiting in the final, France. It is an absolute gauntlet. Repeating as champions requires surviving some of the toughest, most grueling football imaginable. Chapter 5. Stats versus the beautiful game. So this brings us right to the core clash of this whole explainer, predictive models versus the unscripted chaos out on the grass. We've seen Opta-safe, form-based prediction, France beating Argentina in the final. But there's another famous model in the mix, the Clement model, run by strategist Joaquin Clement. His model goes entirely against the grain and predicts a massive shock, a 1-0 victory for the Netherlands over Portugal in the final, which is wild. But hey, Portugal has been looking incredibly sharp, with Cristiano Ronaldo silencing his critics with a brace against Uzbekistan. And Clement's math sees them going all the way to the very end against the Dutch. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth should we listen to a model that predicts a Netherlands versus Portugal final? Well, because the Clement model has a literal 100% track record since 2014. It correctly predicted Germany in 2014, France in 2018, and Argentina in 2022. It doesn't just look at passing stats, it looks at deep socioeconomic factors. It analyzes a country's GDP per capita, population size relative to football interest, the optimal climate for year-round training, which is apparently around 14 degrees Celsius, along with current FIFA rankings and host advantage. It claims these structural factors explain about 55% of World Cup outcomes. But before you rip up your bracket and run off to put your life savings on the Dutch, here is a brilliantly self-aware quote from the creator himself, Joachim Clement. He says, "If you take this model and these forecasts seriously, you are deluding yourself. If you bet money on the World Cup because of this model, nobody can help you." He freely admits that 45% of outcomes are just pure luck, because at the end of the day, football remains wildly, beautifully unpredictable. And absolutely nothing anchors that reality better than Paraguay, the world number 41 knocking out the world number 10 Germany. It was literally one of the largest ranking upsets in World Cup history. When that referee's whistle blows, supercomputer algorithms mean absolutely nothing to the 22 players on the pitch. Heart, grit, and a little bit of luck can rewrite the entire script in a matter of 90 minutes. So here we are. The data has laid out the probabilities, the paths to the final are locked in, and the heavyweights are fully aware of what they need to do to survive. France and Argentina look borderline unstoppable, Spain and Brazil are completely lethal, and the models are throwing the Netherlands and Portugal right into the mix as well. But as the Paraguay upset showed all of us, absolutely no one is safe. The data is set, but who will ultimately conquer the chaos of 2026? You'll just have